my first encounter with like polo was I remember I used to go to I lived on 65th Street in Manhattan, and up the block from me is LaGuardia High School, and a lot of like graffiti writers came from that school. Jadakiss went there. Like a lot of people went there. It was a specialized art high school and acting and music and everything. And across the street from there was a school called Martin Luther King High School. And for some odd reason, a lot of fucking dudes from Brooklyn went there, from Crown Heights, from Flatbush. So a lot of them used to pop out with like low on and shit like that. So one day I was walking from my Catholic school that I went to on 70th Street. And this was around when the air raids were out.
92.
So I had these Reeboks and I had the air raids. And I had these Reeboks that were all black suede with the gum bottom. And they were called like black tops or above the rim or some shit like that. Tops. So I was coming down the block and there was these two kids that went to Martin Luther King High School and they had fucking Ski 92 jackets on. But one had a black one had a red one. I didn't even know what the fuck that shit was. You know what I'm saying? Later on down the line, when I got into like more so graph and low, I was like, oh shit, that's the jacket right there that I saw them kids with. You know what I'm saying? But I always remembered that. You know what I'm saying? But I was always into gear. And I'm not even going to front. My man who lived on my block, his grandfather was a loan shark. I don't know if you ever met him. Kid that wrote Lex. Used to call him, give me. So he used to go in his grandfather's stash, the safe, and he would take like fucking 2 G's out, dude, like every couple of days. And we would just go to Macy's. We would go to Bloomingdale's and buy everything, Mad Hilfiger shit, polo stuff, whatever was out, like polo sports shit, really. Because it was like, around that time, it was like, what, like 95, 96?
Yeah, it's polo sport.
So we was buying that kind of stuff and shit. And right after that, is when I got into the like I was already writing, but I was a toy. I was a neighborhood toy and shit like that. I don't know if y'all want to hear how I got my tag and shit, but
yeah, absolutely.
So there was this one dude. So I was going. Y'all got to chop this up because you know what I'm saying? I'll be fucking up when I talk sometimes. Sometimes. So boom, I went to public high school, PS 191, and it's on like bordering Hell's Kitchen in the Upper West Side, and I knew how to draw. Everybody knew that. You know what I'm saying? And there was another kid named Ruben that knew how to draw as well. Then there was another Ruben. But this Ruben, he was from 84th Street. He used to call it A4 back then, 84th in Amsterdam. They used to call it A4. That was the name of that block. So Ruben was a drug dealer. You know what I'm saying? And back then, niggas used to just like not go to school. Back then, niggas used to get left back a lot. And we used to have what we call super seniors. Mm-hmm. You remember? So he was like a super senior. This dude was brolic and all that shit. He was like Dominican and black, just like me or some shit. So he would barely come to school. So one day, it was the last day of school. He came through. He was just there for no reason, chilling. And we didn't have to do any work. And he's sitting at the table, like drawing in a black book. So I didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Everybody's like, yo, come look at this shit. Come see what he's doing, because they knew I drew too. So I went to look at it, and he was writing like his tag in the shit. And it was post 2. And the number 2 was a sand clock.
Hourglass.
An hourglass. And then the 2 wooden bars on the ends were the number 2. And I thought that shit was the illest shit I ever seen. And before that, I was just catching mad random stupid tags. Like I would write Big DS from Onyx and shit like that because I look like him. You know what I'm saying? Amazing. So I used to write shit like that and Chaos and, Gnome 2 and shit like that. So boom, I was like, nah, I like this shit. I was like, yo, I'm going to write post 1. And I told him that. And he was like, he didn't give a fuck. He was like, go ahead. So I just kept on flowing with that shit. And then I started really getting into it and seeing graffiti. I started looking at it differently. You know what I'm saying? Like really noticing actual writers, not just neighborhood toy shit. And I had writers that came from my block, like Risk FC, Share 37, a bunch of niggas from Hell's Kitchen. The Upper West Side is all the niggas that I came up to, like OJ and Nice and fucking JA and all the RTW dudes and a bunch of other cats that y'all probably don't even know about. You know what I'm saying? But once I started getting into that, I started hanging out with I met my man Daz. You know who Daz is, right? So Daz became like my partner in crime. Like he's Albanian. He was my that was my partner. Daz was already on this shit. He's older than me. You know what I'm saying? So he was already coming through with low on and shit like that. And he had like North Faces, like ones that I didn't know about, like Extremes and shit like that. So I was like, oh shit. So from Daz, he introduced me to cats from the Bronx because he went to environmental studies with Ammo. And who else went there? Remember Perry?
Yeah. He
went there with Perry. I think Sia might have went there. I'm not sure. So he went there with them. And then when I immediately, like, I evolved quick. So I got close to them niggas. Then I started going to the Bronx. So when I go to Bronx, I go to 8Ball's crib. I mean, 8Ball, Rehab is living there, right? Yeah. So when Rehab is living there and shit, I started just hanging out there every day. Like, I'm there. We didn't even have cell phones back then. So I was just there. My mother's like, where the fuck are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, she didn't hear from me for days. Like,
too.
Yeah, but for days, she would be like, yo, where the fuck have you been? Like, I'm worried and shit. But I was just up there getting high, chilling with them. Then we get into racking for money. And then, yo, from there, it went crazy. And then 8Ball and them, they brought me down to Soho. And, like... To the Ville on the writers' side of shit, though, because I would go through there, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was going to Tenton Trails and all that as a kid, but they brought me into the world of graffiti down there. Like, the Broadway scene, Astor Place, is two different worlds. That's why I met Bunny and all these motherfuckers. I see him. He's coming through with, like, Pete Tennis's and casino button-ups, and he had all this crazy shit. Wild was another one. I'm not going to front. He was, like, it was Wild and Bunny. They were, like, the fucking top dogs. Like, always... with the illest shit on, because y'all worked, right? They had jobs. Back then, niggas ain't have no motherfucking jobs.
High school.
So I don't know what you was doing, but he found ways to get all this shit maneuvering. He was maneuvering. Brand fucking new. Wild did work.
Yeah.
Because Wild had the Jacob bracelet and all this shit and rollies on. I'm like, what the fuck is it? We was all just racking and, you know what I'm saying? Finding ways to get shit. So dealing with these niggas uptown, they was putting me on the spots like, a little bit upstate, even Woodbury, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I've been to Woodbury with my family. But when I went with, I think, Ammo for the first time, and my man Lex. Lex was a little kid, dude. He was a blood. He was like a little Puerto Rican kid. He was about 15 at the time, but he looked like he was 13. But he would take his mother's Camry. And, yo, he looked insane driving it. Like, I'm like, yo, please don't let us get pulled over. But we go all the way to Woodbury, run up in there, me, him, Ammo. This was like 95, 90, it's like 96 or 97. Because they still had the steep techs in there.
In Woodbury?
Yeah, they had the 96 steeps or the 95 steeps still. So all the new shit was already out in the stores. They still had that stuff, though, in the outlet. So they had that stuff, and I went in there with them, boom. I just start shotgunning mad pants down the leg. I'm taking fucking mountain jackets, mountain lights, all this crazy shit. And
they didn't even have the Lizzies back then either.
They didn't have them on those.
Yeah.
But if they did, I knew. And I had the clipper with me. So I was breaking them in there. And there's these two white dudes in the store. This is before they had the dudes with the big black suits outside.
Yeah.
That wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
So boom, these two white dudes in the store. They look like lumberjacks or some shit. They didn't give a fuck. They're just talking to each other about like bows and arrows and shit like that. And we're in the back, just young kids, just going, having a field day. So boom, I wreck them. I walk out and I go put the shit in the car. Like I took 2 jackets, 2 pairs of pants. Then I come back in. These niggas are still in there and shit. Then they leave, they come back. So when they come back, they attempt to take a steep tech. They did have alarms. The steep techs had the zip-in hood.
Yeah.
So they had the alarm
on the
inside.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they didn't know that. So boom, they walk out. I was in front of them. So they were like 20 steps behind me. They were like 20 steps behind me. I'm walking out. I got more shit down the leg and shit. They had these long bill hats. And they were like monochrome. Like they were just one color. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah.
They had orange, like a mustard yellow.
With the white North Face logo or the black one?
Nah, it was just all straight.
Yeah, it was all the same color.
So boom, I take a bunch of those, throw them down the leg. They was like in a tin bucket.
And they were thin. They're real thin hats. Like
they were hats. So I walk out. These niggas is behind me. I hear beep, 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 beep. I'm like, oh, shit. So now I see the guys running to the front.
But you think it's you?
Nah, because I was already
saying you thought it was you.
Nah, but I was already shook because I had that shit down the leg. So I'm like, damn, they're gonna come grab me up.
Yeah. They
So
run past you.
I start running, and it's wintertime. So there's like a grassy little knoll thing, that then it goes back to the concrete.
Yeah.
I step on that shit and I go flying. And I bust my shit all over the floor. I'm rolling around. I get up. Yo, then I
To have a visual of that would be priceless.
Yo, then I start running to the car crazy. But I'm like, because back then they had the motherfuckers that just patrolled in a car.
A white car.
Yeah, like
there
around
wasn't that many stores back then either.
There wasn't. So boom, I get to the car and I'm hiding behind the car and shit like that. Like thinking that they're not going to see me. So I'm looking to see, like, please let them go because how am I going to get home? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to have to find my way back on the Amtrak or some shit. And the guys just took the shit back from them and let them go. We went home. But after that, it was on. Like, it was on. Like, I needed everything. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just racking.
Everything.
Dang.
I needed everything.
So I'm racking nonstop. Then we was into racking for money.
Loot racking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we took that shit up a notch. Like, the Bronx niggas took that shit to a different level. They was on some other shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they was making drug money off that shit, like real bread. Hefts, you know Hefts.
Graham.
Legendary, Rhino, all of them. You know what I'm saying? So they kind of put us on to shit, but we had our own wave, and we were racking like in the city a lot, and there was hair products. I don't know if you remember Emergencies.
Yeah.
Son, them shits was like fucking almost $100 or some shit for a bottle of hair thing. So when we came through with it uptown to these fucking women, they would much rather buy from us for $20 because they had all they get off, from the company. They probably get like $20 off or some shit. Yeah. So we would go up there and we wanted to be fly. So we coming through with North Face pants and fucking teddy bear sweaters and shit like that. And like there's a lot more to it of me getting into gear and shit, but I was just always into gear. I was always into sneakers. I had kicks when I was a kid. I had Huaraches, Barclays, I had Deion Sanders. A lot of the fly shit that everyone goes crazy for now, I had that shit as a kid. Like, I had a lot of it. I know you did too. I don't know, you did. Rebels like
I
a
remember
sneaker.
you were harassing me for those Barclays, remember?
Yeah.
Which ones?
With the 3-way strap when I had the OG one?
Yeah.
And
that's another thing. So there was
remember?
This is 98, and I guess it was him that put motherfuckers on to this spot.
Sneaker bar.
Sneaker bar. Yeah, absolutely.
Yo, this shit was the illest shit ever.
It was a time capsule.
Dude, no lie, I went in there. So I don't know who you put onto it.
This kid Sean in high school put
But
me
how
on.
did we get onto it?
From
I
Bunny.
just told you it's where
Bunny
to
told
go.
us.
Who'd
And
you
then,
tell?
I forgot who it was. Maybe 8 or maybe you. I don't remember. It was so long ago.
So we found our way up there. Eno had the cable van
Yeah,
back then.
Rockland County.
So we went up there.
Exit 10, New City.
And we walk in. It's like a little, what are those shits called?
Little strip
plaza.
mall.
A little shopping strip mall. So there's an Asian like.
And he was the
cuisine,
second store in.
Yeah.
And there was like a fucking a laundry mat. And there was like a FedEx or some shit.
All of that shit.
And then there was that.
Rebel got a picture with him.
Guaranteed.
He's the only person that has pictures in that store.
A million pictures.
So I go in. My nigga, I damn near fall the fuck out when I walk in this motherfucker. I'm like, what the It was like
Steve
walking.
Krasinski.
It was like walking into the past. Like it was
Time
ill.
warp.
Yeah.
Yo, they had and this is a time when none of this shit was on
Yeah.
the internet. There was
Yeah.
none of
And
this.
it was only a few years later too, like from their actual release. It's
Yeah.
just nobody had them.
97.
Yeah.
97.
Exactly. So this is before internet and
Yeah.
websites
Yeah.
and all this shit. So boom, walk in there. They got all the Jordans. But when I asked for this is before any retros, I think
Yeah, no,
the
just the
retros
3.
were just coming out.
3
this time.
and the 2. And the 1 actually. 1 was 94.
So you talking
retro.
about but this
Yeah,
is
90
way.
yeah.
I'm talking about way.
Oh
after,
yeah.
When
Yeah.
we were there,
Because
I
the
think
4 started in 99, and that's before that.
So we were right there before
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first retro came back out, like the popular retro.
Yeah.
So he had them all there and seeing these Jordans brand new. That shit
On
was,
the shelf.
It
Yeah.
was mind blowing
Yes.
because at that time it was just something that didn't exist.
Yes.
So I'm like, yo, what's good with these? Like, do you have our sizes? He's like, nah, like some dudes from Japan just came.
No. It was Karen from Small Earth.
That's what he told me.
Small Earth.
He was like, some dudes from Japan came here a week or 2
Yeah?
ago and cleaned
They
everything.
came with trailers. They
Cleaned
came
it
with
all
trailers.
out.
Yeah.
But then they still had all the Barclays, the Agassiz, all this shit was in there. So I bought whatever I could buy in that because at that time we was making wild bread. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I was just buying whatever they had in my size. I bought all of it. Boom. And I was like, yo, we'll be back. You know what I'm saying?
We'll be back.
We'll be back. And I came back.
Yeah, man.
And they just didn't have a lot of things in our size. He would let us go in the back a little bit. but not too much because we was wilding. And then one of our peoples, who's a fucking idiot, the dude was so cool, man.
Yeah, Steve.
He was in there, and they had fucking hockey jerseys and shit, everything. They had
game hats, starter hats.
This
everything.
nigga goes and tries to rack shit in there. So like, and the guy found out. So he didn't like us after that. Like he was on, like he wasn't friendly with us anymore when we started going in there. Cause this nigga couldn't contain himself and he needed to steal something. You know what I'm saying? But Rebel I met after in like 2000 something. I met you. I met Rebel on a sneaker. I was on the sneaker line. And this dude was in front of me that he wrote. We're not gonna mention his name.
Bias. Lawrence Bias.
He got into some whole crazy shit like not too long ago at that show uptown that I did.
Irrelevant.
Yeah, irrelevant. But anyway, so Bias was in front of me, right? With some girl, and he's hugged up on his girl and shit. I don't even know who this nigga is. So I'm with my man Rich, and we're like, Rebel pulls up in the car, and he's with Dave Labels. So you parading his hat around and shit. So I'm like, I'm telling parading it. You're doing the most. And I'm like, oh shit, that's Rebel right there. Because I already knew who Rebel was. I didn't know Rebel personally, but I would see him in the village back then. And then like be at Footworks and shit like that. I would see him outside. I'll be with like Dak and fucking other people that we ain't gonna talk about
Other people.
That these niggas can't stand.
Associates.
But anyways, I would see them. I would see Rebel there and shit because Rebel was big on the gear shit. Everybody knew, and I always knew about Rebel through like being stylish with graffiti. When whenever I talk about graffiti, when I get into it, like the history that I know about, there's the old school niggas like Astros and Chino, and they used to catch the big
Gate
black
tags.
gate tags at the tops. And then you had like what I call the leaders of the new school that came in like the mid 90s and started making noise. And they had like ill throw ups and just advanced style of tagging that was different. And to me, like Rebel was one of those dudes. Other people I don't want to name either because
You can name them.
Adder was one of them.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Who else? Cynic was one of them to me. Scuff was definitely one of them. You know
Scuff was one of the best.
Scuff was one of the illest. Like he just came with a whole new flavor that influenced a whole bunch of new kids, including myself.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And Rebel was one of them dudes, but then Rebel was also known for the gear and shit. So I'll always see him around downtown walking around. He had a red Steep Tech on and shit. And I used to
He
be
was
like,
watching.
I was like, who the fuck? Did you have a red Steep Tech?
I had a bunch of them.
So I was like, who the fuck is this fat motherfucker with a red? Because I'm fat and I wanted a Steep Tech that fit me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, where did he get one that fit him?
Magic, P. It was magic.
And so I'm like, damn, I already knew who he was and shit. And so when I saw him on that line, I was like, oh, shit, there goes Rebel. And the dude Bias heard me say that shit because he was standing in front of me. And he's like, you want to meet him right now? I know him. So then he took me over there to meet Rebel. And then the first thing that comes out of Rebel's mouth, like, yeah, I know about you through Siege. And da-da-da-da. And I used to see your tags on the, tell him, you saw my shit.
When I used to sign paint uptown, I used to see little posts, white marker tags in between the store gates. That's when I first heard a post. AOW.
And how'd you feel about it?
So I would work up there and I'd walk back to the train. And sometimes I would just take missions and walk. And I'm like, oh, look at this little guy post. I'm like, who the fuck is post? Because ZE had a guy that wrote post,
he did.
KOC. So this is the first time I heard a post. But I'm like, he's got a little swagger with his little right. And I was like, all right. So then I met him later in the Ville.
It was in Midtown, but
Midtown.
So anyways, boom, he takes me up to Rebel. I meet Rebel. And the first thing that comes out of Rebel's mouth is like, I seen your tags uptown for years, and all this shit, sign painting and all the shit that he just said. And then he's like, yeah, Siege told me you had these specific jackets. So I peeped it mad fast, and he was trying to finesse me. He thought that I wasn't up.
What do you want, extremes?
No, the anniversaries. He thought that I didn't know the value. So I peeped it.
So post says.
Nah, you did. So boom, he's like, yo, take my number. I'm going to call you. I'm really looking for those jackets. So we talking and he kept mentioning the jackets. So I peeped it mad quick, like, oh, he wants these shits bad, son. So boom, I leave. I hop in a cab with my man. Bring, my shit's ringing already. I'm like, yo, this Rebel. He's like, yo, listen, come to my thing and I want those jackets. Like, make sure he was very diligent about it.
You both have that in common.
That's where he got the
when you
diligence
just want
from.
something.
Absolutely.
Right.
We got to come get it.
So we both got the same name. That's crazy, right?
Woo!
So
Got to
boom,
get it.
I went to the basement over there, and then
P lost his mind.
Yeah, I lost
He
my
was like,
mind.
Oh,
And
shit.
then Rebels coming up with all types of wild, crazy shit and mad scientists, inventions, and I was all for it. Like, yes, I'm down with this. Let's go. We gonna make shit happen, and we did. We made some shit happen. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I met Rebel, to be honest. You know, but I ain't gonna front. Like Rebel, I give Rebel his props because a lot of cats back then did not have foresight to understand. I'm sorry, Rabbit, you included. You know what I'm saying?
Rabbit under the bus.
Nah, not under the bus, but I'm being real. Because Rabbit moved on in life. You know what I'm saying? People move on in life with shit. And you can't knock that either. Life happens.
Not at all. Not at all.
Life happens. But Rebel had foresight to understand that a lot of this shit, I didn't even have that foresight myself, to be 100. Like what I tell you, what I'm looking for right now, and I keep begging for it.
Iceberg.
The iceberg sweater, yes.
Which one?
Was I to fix?
No.
Nah, the
which
Mickey
one I'm
Mouse.
telling him to go get from Ant's
Mickey
Pops?
or Pluto?
The Fantasia.
Oh, the Fantasia.
So
Mickey.
I had this sweater back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
That's the one you want from him.
Yeah, I ain't had it. I should have bought it. Like when he passed away, God bless
R.I.P.
his dad. Somebody offered it to me back then when he died, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I have one. Then I went to storage to go find my shit, and I didn't even know I had this shit since '98. I look at it, and the shit's a medium.
Yellow. Oh.
It was a medium. So I got tight, and I sold it to this kid. He runs some shit called Stray Rats or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Florida. I don't know where he's from.
From Florida.
I met up with him. He
Joel knows him.
Kind of like jittery and shit on Canal, and I sold it to him.
Jittery.
And I was tight afterward because I never took pictures with that shit. I don't have any. A picture's worth 1,000 words, nigga. You can say whatever you want. You had this, you did that, and you did this and that and the fourth. But if there's no pictures to prove it,
unless they know
they
who
know
you are.
exactly. People know how you get down. Niggas know I'm not lying about shit. But at the same time, it's like I still would have preferred to have a picture. Rebel kind of understood that shit back then. You know what I'm saying? Rebel knew to
document
everything.
Different times though. Back then, people didn't want pictures of themselves.
Not only that, is that motherfuckers wasn't really trying to spend bread on film, and everybody was running around with a camera. I don't know what were you using, disposables or
everything. I had Pentaxes. I had everything.
So we would rack disposables all day.
Yeah.
I remember we ran into Eminem in '98.
Yeah.
He was going to perform at the Beacon Theater. Yo, he walked with us. He was chilling. He was hyped that we knew his shit, and he was down to take 1,000 pics, but we had no camera. You know what I'm saying? So I was
Everybody's got those moments.
Exactly. So Rebel kind of understood that even with Graffiti about to go out, I thought like looking at certain gates in my neighborhood and all that shit would
be there forever. Yeah, exactly.
I thought it would be there forever and ever and ever. I never thought that them shits would get clean because I've been looking at them since I was a kid.
Your whole life.
So once they got cleaned, it was out of nowhere. It was just like here one day, gone the next.
What year would you say that was? 2000?
Yeah, around
2000.
like 2000 it started happening a lot. Like it was happening gradually.
We lost mad shit in 2000 though.
2000 it really. And by that time, niggas wasn't even doing graffiti no more. Because back then, graffiti was different. Niggas started writing at like 13 and shit.
Yeah.
When did you start writing?
11.
So by the time you touch like 16, you were retired. And 18, you were retired. By the time
it's the same thing with the train riders.
Exactly.
Same
but
thing.
that's just how it was in the 90s. So boom, by the time I was like 18 and shit, 17, nigga, we was about getting bread. So I didn't care about none of that shit no more. But then a few years pass, and then I'm like, yo, hold up, son. Fuck all this shit. Because we was going, like, at that time, we was doing the whole A-Life and Supreme shit in the beginning. And I was like, yo, I want a Steep Tech again. So the internet is starting to pop off. And I start searching. And I come across vintage gear addicts like that. You know what I'm saying? And
what year would you say that was?
2004.
I think it's 2. I think it's 2002.
No.
You sure?
I don't believe. When I got on there, it was 2004.
Because I made the first hat in 2003. I was making the blanks prior to that.
And VGA was on?
I was selling my blanks to all those kids.
So I got on there late.
Before VGA was Sneaker Talk. I mean, Nike Talk.
Nike Talk. Yeah.
And there was another polo website like low.jcb, some bullshit.
Oh, I don't know.
People find any website.
Yeah, Revo used to be on. He had pics on there and shit like that. So boom, I got on VGA looking for that shit, and I'm coming from like being on some hood shit, and I'm talking my talk, and it's like a whole new demographic of niggas on there and shit, and these niggas are mad like stick up. I don't even want to say that, you know what I'm saying? But they were like more like, oh, the RN number to this jacket is this, that, and all this bullshit.
41381.
All this shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? So I come on there talking about shit that I had. And the way I'm saying is like, I had this shit back in the day. I had this, and these niggas are looking at me like I'm just some nigga bullshitting this shit. So I mentioned the pink Trans-Antarctic jacket. And motherfuckers thought I was lying or it didn't exist.
Yeah.
So this one kid, Cypher was on there.
Yeah.
So Cypher came out like, nah. I know who this nigga is. Like, he's really was that dude with those jackets. You know what I'm saying? Like, my name rung bells in the Bronx with that shit. And I got it from the Bronx niggas. And the dumb niggas deserve their credit when it comes to North Face. TDK and all of them. Rehab was part of all of that shit. Dumb niggas are the ones. If you think your albums are crazy, my man, their albums of North Face are fucking bananas. And I have some of the pics. I found them in old emails recently.
Because nothing gets by P.
Nah, because this is what happened. One day, Remo comes to my crib, mad drunk, and he has MB40's album. He leaves it.
Oh, boy, there it goes.
Then he gets locked up, and the shit stayed with me for like fucking 15 years.
And P studied the manuscript.
No. The stupid shit I did was I gave it to somebody else, and they scanned all the pictures. I never did that. I should have. You know what I'm saying? Because now they lost the fucking album themselves to some kids, some young graffiti kid that got caught up.
That shit was like a black book.
In a body and shit. Now he's gone locked up, and he had the album in his crib, and now they can't get their hands on it again. You know what I'm saying? So
what happened to the scans?
I know who got them.
Oh, so they're around.
If they're willing to give them up, motherfuckers be acting funny now.
Well, P, you're persuasive, so you'll get them.
I am.
Yeah,
I've been planning on reaching out for that. You know what I'm saying? I told Rehab too, like, yo, I know who got the scans of that shit. I'm gonna try to get it back because those are some of the only pics of him dipped out and shit.
Yeah.
But I have the ones of him. I got a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? But I got into a lot of that shit via watching them dudes and knowing about them as well. Like they was the first people I seen with that Trans-Antarctic jacket, but they had the zip down version. I got the pink one from some nigga named Cliff. And you remember Cliff?
Yeah.
Jersey. And Ken from Jersey. Yep. So they came through to meet up with my man Ian and Matt, the twins from 110th. They came to meet up with them. And these niggas was wearing the pink shit with the pink agassiz. And my mind was blown. Like, yo, nah.
I needs that.
So boom, but back then, niggas wasn't wearing pink. That wasn't a thing that dudes did. You know what I'm saying? But
pre-Cameron.
Exactly. So I still bought the jacket. You know what I'm saying? I bought it off of him. They found them in a thrift store in Jersey somehow. Like 3 of them, brand new with tags. So I bought one, and then I had it, and I'm just like, yo, what am I going to do with this shit? I can't rock it. Like, this shit is pink as shit. Like, what am I going to wear it with? So we went to Sneaker Barn. They had the agassiz there with the pink in the front, the Tech Challenge 4.
Yeah.
So boom, prior to this, I had let Eno rock the zip down one. Because he went to Humanities High School on, what is that, 18th? 19th? It's in Chelsea.
Yeah, I don't know.
Between like 8th and 9th or shit. Wild went there.
Yeah.
That kid, Optimo, whatever the fuck, Words.
I think Tyann went there too.
They all went there. So boom, that was a North Face school. So mad girls rock North Faces and shit, extremes in that school and all that. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna let you wear this shit. He wore it, and all the bitches went crazy. They went crazy. So now he wanted it. He's like, yo, sell me the jacket, please. At that time, we didn't know that the pullovers were like fucking rare artifacts. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? From the late 80s and shit. I had no idea. So boom, I was like, yo, listen, I'm not going to sell you my zip down, but you can have this pink one. And I was like, the only way I'm going to let you buy the pink one is if you buy these agassiz from Sneaker Barn, because they didn't have my size. They had his size.
So you got to have the proper fit?
So he promised to do it. He never did it. But I sold him the jacket beforehand for $150. $150. This jacket, no lie, y'all, this shit is worth like, you could get $6,000 for it right now if it popped up. You know what I'm saying?
Doesn't that kid in
if it popped
Yonkers
up
still have it?
Who?
Irk, yes.
So let me tell you. You know what I mean?
Weren't you trying to get it from him?
So boom, I bump into Eno.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want it back if you move it. He's like, all right, I got you. Nigga goes and sells the shit to G, Cope's little brother. So I'm like, damn, son, what the fuck did you do that for? Like, I would have took it back.
Yeah.
This shit's gone now. I don't know where it went. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just gone in the mist. And now it's become...
where P becomes detective.
Not yet. Because the shit became a myth.
Yeah.
And everyone knew that I had that jacket.
Yeah.
So it was just a thing that spread around. Like everybody knew, like, yo, he had the pink one. Like this is crazy. Nobody ever had that before. And all these kids from the Bronx, from Kennedy High School, they all knew about that because they were all North Face kids and shit. And my name rung mad bells because of that jacket. And then when it came to the VGA era, Vintage Gear Addicts, we was there. When I first popped on there, I started talking about that. I mentioned that jacket. And niggas thought I was bullshitting.
Yeah.
They tried to play me. So then Cypher popped out like, nah, he really had that. I know who this nigga is. So then the dude, I don't know if you remember him, name Pretty Boy Ian.
Yeah.
He's from Jamaica, Queens.
Yeah, with the blue eyes.
I bumped into him recently too.
Really?
Getting a haircut. He was getting a haircut in the seat. He jumped out like, yo. So anyways.
You connected with me with him to get the plate jacket. The red plate jacket. Remember like 2005, 6?
I do not remember that, but I probably did. So boom.
You got one over on P.
You do.
It's good.
I don't remember that shit at all. So boom, Ian was like, nah, that jacket existed. I know who has one now.
Irk.
So he's like, some dude. So boom, but right before that, I already had traced it. So because I think I hit G up. Like, yo, G, where you moved that jacket to? Like, where'd it go? And I haven't spoken to G in years. So G was like, yo, I moved this to some kid named Irk Lowe. Yeah. So when I said that shit on VGA, the nigga Ian was like, oh, I know Irk. He's telling the truth. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, that was my fucking jacket. And then they all felt stupid after that. And that's when they started like respecting my name on there and shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's how that shit went with that jacket. But then I hit the nigga. I finally found the dude Irk. Yeah. And he was not trying to give that shit up. He's like, I'm keeping this shit forever.
So it's like the white heli when I got it. It was like a sample and nobody had it.
I seen Rabbit with the white heli on. There's a picture of him.
There is photo documentation.
There's a photo documentation right there. That's the first picture. So boom, I was on Broadway in front of Transit, right across the street from Atrium, and I was going to court, and I saw you, but I didn't say anything. I was coming from, I think I was going to EMS, and I saw you with vest boots. Yeah. And you had that shit on with the vest, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, but that was like one of my first times seeing somebody wearing that jacket. And there used to be another store that had them down the block called Bee's Knees. Who remembers that?
Yeah, I remember Bee's Knees.
It was right on fucking
black and yellow sign.
Exactly, and they was on it, son. You go in that motherfucker, them niggas is on you, nigga. Like hawking, big black dread motherfuckers. They knew what time it was. You know what I'm saying? EMS though, right there. They was on it too, because there was this nigga there that we used to call Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, the African dude.
Tall, black, African motherfucker. This motherfucker was a nuisance. And then the one by me, this is how I was onto North Face early. That's what I was really into. And there was this dude named Sharif. He was this Arab motherfucker that was brolic. He looked like fucking Zangief from fucking Street Fighter. He was no joke. So says brother Will. Remember Will? Will. His older brother.
I think so, yeah.
He worked there. So he used to take jackets and he would stuff them in the vent. And then when it's time to leave, he put them in his bag and bounce. But because they'll check your bag before you leave the store. So they'll check his bag and like, oh shit, I gotta take a leak real quick. He'll run back and grab all the jackets mad quick and stuff in his bag. Leave. And then we used to go deal them shits to the niggas at 555 Soul when it was by Supreme.
Matt used to work there.
Him.
Yeah.
So he used to throw garbage bags of fucking clothes out and put them on the fucking floor and act like it was garbage. And we'll give him the jacket and we'll come take the garbage bags of clothes.
So Pete was a sanitation man during that time.
That dude jerked me too on a hat before. Like, not that.
He's the one that bought my summer hats.
And he jerked me on the purple one. This is before eBay had.
Where's the purple one now, Pete?
J-Rock's Low got it. So anyway, my man Will was walking out and somebody played a fucking joke on him in the store and put the fucking alarm inside the bag and he didn't know it was there. So he walks out, starts ringing, his heart dropped. The nigga Zangief comes up, puts him in a full Nelson, body slams him and checks the bag, finds like fucking 5 jackets in there. We was killing them. We had jackets every day. We had mountains. We had so many. And that was over for that. But Says is another one Says Low, you knew Says. Says was killing him at
Andrew,
one point. Y'all can't front.
Yeah.
He was doing this thing with Low, little Jewish kid, and I put him on, you know, and I told him like, yo, I met him in fucking Tower Records, dog. I know I'm just talking mad shit right now. I don't know if y'all mind that I'm talking all this shit. I know y'all gonna chop it up.
I told you 4 hours. You thought I was joking.
So I'm at Tower Records, yo, because we used to rack our magazines there. They had Graffiti magazines, Double XLs, Rap Pages, Source magazines, everything. I used to go up there and sleeve all my shit, right? So every time I would go up there, there'll be a writer sitting at the chairs reading the magazines and shit. So I'll go up there one day, and there's these two little kids, right? One is Asian, one's a white kid with glasses and shit. They have skateboards with them and shit, with big tags on them. So I look at them, and they're reading Graffiti magazines, and I didn't say shit. You know what I'm saying? So I go to the magazines because I'm doing my thing. I'm trying to rack shit, and I'm sleeving magazines. But then there's another writer there, and I go talk to him because I didn't know him, but I met him right there on the spot. He wrote Caspo. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
He used to hit tunnels and
Strand
shit
and Caspo.
with Revs and all of them.
Yeah.
So boom, I'm talking to Caspo, and there was another kid, Fuel. I don't know if you remember Fuel.
FUEL?
Yes.
That was PM's side name.
No, it was another kid. He was like from New Orleans and some shit. He was nice.
Different.
So boom, I'm talking to Caspo, blah, 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 blah. He did his thing. He was stealing magazines as well. He leaves. So now I go up to these two little kids, and I'm like, yo, y'all right? And he's like, they're like, yeah, I write. And I'm like, what you write? And he's like, look. And he showed me the skateboard. They had the mini, you know, the mini wide fucking.
Yeah.
They used dumb shits on the skateboard, the silver and shit. You could tell it was just young kids that their moms bought them like graffiti
starter kits.
Exactly. So I told them, I'm like, yo, listen, y'all want to learn about graffiti and shit? Come to 71st and Broadway after school. Because that's where we used to chill. You know, we used to be there mob deep. And everybody would come from all the high schools. You had Beacon High School, LaGuardia, Environmental Studies, all those King, and all it was bugged out because everybody would be over there chilling. And it would be like everybody, like all ethnicities, the punk rock kids from LaGuardia, the emo niggas would be there, the graffiti writers. It was like some shit out of like, I don't know if you ever read that shit, Prep School Gangsters and all that shit. So it's like, it was like that. That was my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? That's how it was. So Says, this is the crazy shit. We there, it's nighttime now, the next day. And we high as fuck. That's when I used to smoke. And we just standing in front of the fucking McDonald's and shit, chilling. And his mother pulls up with him in the car and drops him off. This little kid.
Man.
This little kid, this little white kid. And I'm like, what the fuck? So she's like, Andrew, just, your brother's going to come pick you up in a few. So boom, he's there with us. And we got these white girls with us. They were like on some, like alternative rock shit, chilling. They used to play hacky sack and all this shit. And they chilling with us, but they, they used to love fucking with us and shit. So we go to the park down the block, the little smoke park, and we bring Says there, and the girls are all up on him, and they're like fucking kissing him, like, oh, you so cute, and doing all this shit. And we handed him the blunt and all this crazy shit, and he got fucking hooked on that shit from there. You know what I'm saying? But then when he was there, I was telling him, I was like, yo, you want to be a writer? I was young myself, dude. I was like, yeah, you got to wear polo. You got to wear North Face.
Right in the starter pack.
Yeah, I'm
There's
like,
a uniform.
Yeah, I'm like, you got to do this and that and the fourth and shit. So he was like, yeah. Like, he listened. So, like, I didn't see him for like a month. And you know when you don't see a little kid for months?
Yeah.
Or two? Like,
they
you see
grow.
him over. Yeah, he was mad big. So he came back. And this time I'm on 71st again, and I'm with all the Bronx niggas and shit. I'm like following all these niggas and shit. And he has North Face pants on, and he had like some low on and shit. And I was like, oh shit.
He said, yo, I took your advice, Pete.
Yeah, he listened. But these niggas is here with me, and they scheming. They want to rob him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no. I'm like, I told him, like, yo, get out of here. Just leave. He didn't understand.
Yeah,
he was annoyed.
Yeah.
I was like, Says, go home. They want to get you.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Go home. And he left. He went home. But after that, he would come to our schoolyard that we were chilling on 70 Deuce, on 77th, IS-44. He would come up there, and then he just became part of us and shit. But then he took it a step further because his father was an antique collector, dealer, and he was famous, like, for it. New York Times famous, you know what I'm saying? And his father told him back then, yo, if you want to find these old things, I'm going to show you how to do it. And then he started putting them on to a bunch of ways to find the stuff that we didn't know. Back then, we was just dealing with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you go up to
the
niggas,
network.
Like, exactly. It was a network. We didn't know how to find new shit. I'll go get some shit from somebody.
Yeah.
Not rabbit, but like, you know, say I did go up to you, like, yo, I want a P tennis or something.
Yeah.
I come get it. The fucking collar is flipped inside out,
exactly.
beat up, and this shit is hemmed out.
Yeah.
Eats. It's been percolated throughout the whole city.
Percolated.
Everybody had it. You know what I'm saying? He was finding shit brand new. So I'm like, how you finding this shit? So his father put him on the eBay early.
Yeah.
So there was a few people that were on eBay early.
Yeah.
Rebel was probably one of them.
C's was on eBay early too.
Was he?
Yeah.
I was buying Jordans for
He got a lot
$20.
of low early on that.
That's crazy.
Like he found it and somebody came. He sold something and somebody came to his door and he was like, "What the hell is this?" Through eBay.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So Cez was going on eBay. He was finding the Transantarctic jackets, the rare colors, and buying them new with tags and shit, dude, for like $40.
You remember when the
$40.
Cartoon Stadium came out?
Yeah.
And then it was rare for a minute?
Yeah.
And then eBay every week had one?
Yeah.
Remember that?
I don't. But
It's one of the best button-ups, and then it was like a
And then
throw-in, but
it devalued. eBay,
I
every
like
week
it,
there was a new one.
I like it to this day. So remember back then, what was heavy value? That's devalued now. I remember
boots,
the
outdoorsmen.
K-Swiss knit.
Yeah,
Yes.
That knit was
Yes.
known.
I had
as
the Eagle K.
the top
I had two
dog.
of them.
That was the top
Yeah, it was like,
dog.
oh my God, the Grail, and
The
then it
Grail,
was like,
and now the shit don't mean nothing. But a lot of
Yeah.
people nowadays they don't know that.
I remember
Yeah.
when
They
a
don't know
flag
that
knit held
anymore.
weight.
It did.
yeah,
At one point.
yeah. Now they make 400,000 colors,
Yeah.
Exactly.
just like
Even the
bears.
sit down bear held
Yeah.
weight back then.
Yeah.
But and also back then, what a lot of people don't know is everything had to be XL, and it was worth more
Yes.
if it was an XL.
Yes.
Exactly.
Nobody wanted small, medium, large. It was like they
New-
offended
new
you.
niggas don't know this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that was a thing.
XL was
It
Yes.
had to
gold.
be an XL.
Yes.
That was like so even the littlest dudes were running
Was
around
XLs.
looking like parachutes. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yo, Sez would be
Looking
outside.
like ravers.
Yo, it looked crazy. So, but XL was what held the most
Yeah.
weight. You know what I'm saying? So, Sez started copping shit on eBay and shit, and then he put me on. I'll go to his crib. We would go to his crib, and his mother just thought we went to the school with him. Because we would lie and say we went to school with him. We bring Remo there. We told him that Remo's part of the basketball team.
Oh man.
His mother believed all that shit.
I love it.
Yo, and then so I'll be like, Sez will be in the cut on his computer. Because back then everybody didn't have a computer.
Yeah.
right.
That was rare. Like
Yes.
now it's an everyday thing. But
Yep.
back then, like to have a computer, a family computer was rare, and it was more so for work.
When you were on dial-up.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Sez is there. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Because we all in the room chilling and shit, drinking and shit. And I go to him to see what he's doing. I go to his kitchen. I start taking mad cookies out the jar and shit.
Chocolate chip.
So then I see him in the cut, and I see him like on the computer, and he's mad like diligent, like he's working this shit. So I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? So then I see him, and he's buying kicks,
Yeah.
and then he's showing me shit. I'm like, oh
The
shit.
dirt cheap.
So I'm like, hold up. I got a computer at home too, but we don't use it. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like a work thing. So then I went right on my computer, got on eBay, and then I found Nike Unlimiteds.
Yeah.
You know the Duke Up Tempos?
Yep.
Yes.
You know the short ones? The
low tops.
and they had the purple in them?
Yes.
They never came back out.
Yeah.
I found those Trainer XLs with
Yeah.
the teal in them. Nigga, I bought all of that shit because I had the bread. I didn't get, nigga, this shit was $25.
Yeah.
Dirt
I bought
cheap.
them, but back then it was all money order. So
Yes.
you had to go to fucking the post office, send the money order out,
Delivery confirmations.
and I forgot about it. I was like, fuck it. If
get
they don't
jerked,
come,
you
they
get
don't
jerked.
come. You know what is it like? Fucking $100 that I just spent.
Yeah.
Not
Then
even.
all of a sudden, shit pops up in my door.
And it was like Christmas time.
That's when shit changed, and that's when it was like, son, eBay,
Yeah.
it's on. Now I start looking for everything on eBay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like anything I could find, Polo, North Faces.
Everything.
My favorite North Face, and I learned this shit more so in the going into the graph side of it, because I was onto North Faces early. I had Bubble early. There was a store my father used to go to. He didn't remember when I asked him, but you probably do. It was called Mr. Joe's Fashion. It was on 36th and 8th Avenue.
Yeah, that was down the block from BJ's. The next
AJ.
yeah.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yes,
The fake
AJ's.
AJ, the fake
Yeah.
BJ.
That's my boy
AJ's.
store. Get set.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And they had all the Vask in there too.
Yes.
All the colors.
Yeah.
So boom.
It was McDonald's, then Mr. Joe's.
Mr.
And then,
Joe.
Yeah, it was the right
and
side.
remember the other store up the block, the Indians, and they had all the teddy bear shirts? It was like a
T-shirts.
gift store.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So boom, Mr. Joe's Fashion, they've been around since I think the
Yeah.
80s.
You
maybe.
walk in and you go to the right. It was like two stores in one.
And they had North Faces,
Yes,
they had
yes.
everything. So I got my first pair of Clark Wallabies in that motherfucker.
Yeah.
I got my first North Face in there.
Yeah.
Because my father knew the owner. They were Trinidadian.
Yeah.
So my pops knew them and shit. So boom, my pops used to take me there as a little kid, dude. And I'm talking about like 1990. So I remember one time we go there, boom, pull up. My pops had the big ass Buick station wagon. You remember them shits?
Absolutely.
They're like big boats.
Yep.
Like turning the corners like a fucking steering the shit. So me and my sisters used to be in the back of that shit because it was a long thing, and we'd be playing, jumping around in that motherfucker. So he would leave us inside playing this shit while he goes in the store, like he's standing outside talking to the dude. So they had just introduced, and no lie, I saw Astro tags. This was like my first time seeing it as a little kid. I didn't even know what it was. So they had just introduced ATMs into the street, like putting them outside. So they put an ATM in front of the store. It was brand new. So I came out with my father this day, and we parked like toward the McDonald's, I think it was.
Yeah.
Or like
McDonald's
up the block.
34th, 35th.
Yeah, we parked there.
Yeah.
Or some shit. We parked before Mr. Joe's.
Yeah.
So we walk it, or after actually. So we walk into Mr. Joe's, me and my father, and there's a train station right there that goes down into the sea. So there's a nigga just standing there, right? And he got all black on. He got like Lokes on and shit. He had the Timberland chuckers, army suit and shit. And this is back when 34th was grimy. And all the boosters used to be on 34th.
Yeah.
All the criminals in New York used to be on 34th Street back then. That shit was a cesspool. So
and 8th Ave was always bad.
And then
8th Ave was always bad.
Yeah, that's the worst McDonald's in New York.
Port Authority. Remember the Burger King?
Yes.
My dude, that shit was hell on earth. But so boom, there's this nigga standing there, and he's trying to sell gold to my father. He just probably robbed somebody for, right?
Yeah.
So my father's looking at it, and he's like, nah, I'm good. So we go to Mr. Joe's and shit, chilling. So boom, he sees a parking spot there, then we go back, because he wants to talk to the guy for mad long. Pull back around. Now we're in front of the store. And this time I'm sitting in the car. And some white dude, no lie, this nigga's out of a movie. Like he had on the button up, he had the slacks on, he had like a pink sweater tied around his neck with the glasses. You remember that old shit in the trains? Like it showed you like about people getting mugged and those guys were black with the broken.
Yeah.
He was one of those, like some preppy motherfucker from Connecticut. So he goes up to the ATM to use it. Brand new, I never seen an ATM before in my life. He pulls out a fat stack of money. Yo, the same nigga that was trying to sell a chain to my father just runs up out of nowhere. Son, he rocked him so crazy. The dude knocked out. He fell out and he was like knocked out for like a good like 5 seconds. Then he gets up. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? And then he goes and the guy ran up toward Macy's. And then he sees him. He gets up and tries to chase him. And everybody's like, yo, my man, don't do it. Leave it alone. Don't chase that guy into that block. And the guy was just there dumbfounded, like he didn't know what to do. And then we get in the car. We going back up to the crib and shit. And these niggas back then, you know where the New York Times building is right now? Mm-hmm. That shit used to be a big fucking a parking lot, an outdoor parking lot. Yeah. And they had scaffolding on it and shit.
Yeah.
That's why I saw Astro tags and shit. And there was two niggas there. It's right across the street from Port Authority.
Yeah, 8th and 41st.
They were fighting. One nigga had the Rambo knife with the big compass on the back of it.
The compass. Yep.
Yo,
and he opened it up and held the matches.
He was fighting, and the one nigga was just fighting with his hands. The other nigga was just fighting with the knife. The dude with his hands, yo, his whole shit was slashed up, bleeding, but he was holding his shit down. And the guy wasn't stabbing him, but he was like slicing him and shit. And I'm just watching this shit as a little kid, bro. Like, yo, this shit is crazy. And fucking people are just walking by with briefcases and shit, like they didn't even give a fuck. Yeah. Like it was just normal. And I'm like dumbfounded by looking at this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm mad, like traumatized and shit. Like, yo, this shit is crazy. And we kept it moving. And then after that, I started walking myself, like from the crib. I would walk through Hell's Kitchen into Times Square. And back then, son, like, yo, bitches was outside with the titties out, butt naked. Yo, it was mad fucking prostitution in that part of 40 Deuce and Hell's Kitchen back then. That shit was crazy. And I would just be walking through this shit like, yo, this is wild, bro. This shit is wild over here. And then but I loved it. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when, like, you know, I started exploring, going downtown.
Port Authority era.
Exactly. And I would come out to Brooklyn, like around here and shit and all that. I would just come through. That's one thing I used to do. I would be like, fuck it. I want to go see what's over there, graffiti-wise. I want to see all this shit. And I would come through catch marker tags and shit like that. Queens, all them neighborhoods. That's how I knew Mayhem and all them dudes. They knew who the fuck I was before I knew who they were. You know what I'm saying? They're like, yeah, we seen your tags all the way out here in the back of Jamaica. Like, what the fuck you was doing out here? And I was like, yeah, my pops used to live out there and shit. You know what I'm saying? And then I met him. I didn't even meet him like that. He used to go to John Jay with Siege. So he used to come to Beacon to do deals with the twins, with Ian and Matt. And I don't know if he did deals with Sez and shit, but I remember one day, this was like 1999, because I was already done with all that shit. I was into Iceberg and shit. So I'm out there like iceberged out, standing outside and shit. I had the, I forgot what knit I had on. What was it at the time?
The medium Fantasia.
No, it wasn't that. It was like an Idafix or some shit, or a Bart. I had that on with Jordan Fords. I thought I was killing them. I was headed uptown to go meet niggas in the Bronx. But I stopped there first. Kids are fighting from the projects, fighting with the kids from Beacon. I see Sez. You know, I always hold him down, like leave him alone, because I knew everybody from the projects too. I was like, don't fuck with him. You know what I'm saying? So Ian and Matt too. And then I didn't know, like my man Nate, rest in peace. You know Nate.
I know Nate.
You know what I'm saying? So Nate went to Beacon as well. And he came up under Sez and them. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know him. But I would see them all out there. And one time May came through to do a deal with one of them. And he had on a cycle jacket. He had the Agassiz on with the colors in the back. And he had on a cycle hat too. And he had like a fucking pouch, a North Face pouch. And I was like, oh shit, that's that dude right there. And that's when I first seen him in Low and shit. But I heard of him already before that for Low and shit like that. You know, before the rapping and all that. But then he knew who I was, like graffiti-wise and shit. And then we ended up clicking, linking, and boom. You know what I mean? We ended up getting mad cool.